Well, I'd be talking to Mr. Albert Campbell, wouldn't I?
You would, yes, you would. 84 years old.
No worries. And you're a whip maker, aren't you?
I'm a whip maker, yeah, yep, and a horse breaker. I do the lot. I've learnt to do blacksmithing, I've learnt to do everything, yeah.
And where did you learn to do all these things?
Here. I had a heart attack at 45, and I took to light things, and I thought, well, I'll be able to plait a whip, and I was able to plait a whip. I've been 30 years now plaiting whips.
And did some expert teach you, or you picked it up?
Look, picked it up myself, yes. I did it the hard way, because the first whips I made was no good, you know. But it's like everything else, you got to learn. And I learned, and now I send whips to America, I send them to England, send them to New Zealand, all over the place.
Wow.
Yeah.
And on the subject of whips still, because we're going to be talking about whips a bit,
Yeah.
your son is a sort of professional whip cracker, isn't he?
He's an Australian champion, yeah. Not son, a grandson. Yeah, he's one of the best, and he makes his own whips now too. He makes a good whip. He's getting better than his granddad.
Ah.
Yeah, he is, yeah.
And he sings while he cracks whips.
Well, yeah, he got some tunes that he can do the national anthem, and he can do Mary Had a Little Lamb and Click Goes the Shears and Waltzing Matilda. He can do all that. He was away 18,000 k's with a band. He sang and played the whips all through the section, you know, right up north, Queensland, all over the place.
Fantastic. Now back to your whips, and you make your own greenhide. What's greenhide?
Greenhide is the first whip made in Australia was rawhide, and that was a skin straight off the cow and done nothing with it. And next thing came the greenhide. So what they did with greenhide, they cured it with salt. And it's to get a good whip, it wants to be cured for, well, no less than 2.5 years, you know. It all depends on the thickness of the hide. You cover it with salt, 1/2 inch thick. The next one goes on top and it's covered with salt, and so on and so on. And
Oh, you just make a big pile of them?
make a big pile, yeah. And you go on, when they're the colour of cheese, nice yellowish sort of cheese, you know, that's when they're ready.
Because they've got a sort of a waxy look, the leather.
Yeah, it is. It sweats a bit in the autumn, you know, because that's the salt. Mm-hmm. You know, if anything's got salt in it, it'll get damp in some nights, you know. But other than that, Wayne is my grandson. He's been cracking my whips for 18 years, and he's just wore out his first pair, and he cracks. You've got to see him the way he cracks whip, because he just about roars the place down, you know. And he belts hell out of them. So that's how, like a farmer, couldn't possibly wear a whip out if he looked after it. Yeah, because you grease them. You grease them. I make my own grease.
What out of?
Fat from the animal. You don't waste much of the animal, you know. If you boil it up, like in the old days, they
Render it down.
Render it down, and that's what I do on that little stove there. I put it on, and I mix a bit of kerosene with it and a bit of neatford oil to stop the rats from chewing it a bit. But it takes a lot to stop rats. But anyway, that's the secret of a good greenhide. They don't know anything about greenhide up there. They do whitehide up north, and they think it's greenhide. But whitehide is it's tanned with alum.
Oh, salt and alum.
Yeah, no, not salt. They just do it with alum, and they call it greenhide because it's the colour of greenhide, see? But it's not. When they saw the greenhide whips, I got a friend up at in the Blue Mountains, and when he took my whips up there and showed them, they couldn't believe that it was proper greenhide. But he said that's alum tan. He said this is salt tan.
So, what is alum? What does it do to leather?
It's all right. Alum's all right, but if it gets wet, it gets raggy, and the more it gets wet and raggy, the less good it is, because the alum comes out of it. But the salt never comes out of it. It's there always, yeah. Jersey skins are the best for whips. You can get them right down thin, they don't break. Beautiful hide. Worst of all, Herefords. No good at all. They go furry. But
Do they?
Oh yes. See how thin that is? See that long there? Well, they're the shape of the. This is thicker up here, where it goes on the top of the whip, and it falls out right down to that thin part that I showed you. And that's why I like jerseys. I can make 2 jersey whips to one of any other breed of cattle, because it's already shaped the same way as the whip. Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
How many whips you'd get 2 out of a jersey, would you?
You see that? That's worth $1,000.
Wow.
That will make me 5 whips. Yeah.
Now let's have. I want to show you this. What I call my drover's whip.
Yeah,
my neighbour's nephew made that, and he gets his whip handles out of the Jerilderie tip. So it's probably been a drover's whip long ago.
Yeah. Well, synthetic whips we never treat them as good whips, because well, they're light, and well, we just don't like them anyway, because it's hard to get this fitted on properly on the fall on the bottom. You got to put a big knot there. See that? Now, what happens with that whip, when you're working it, it's going around like that, because it's not. You'll see when one of my whips after, you'll see that it's flattened in with a straight through, but that knob, they put it on a lot of whips, and then it wears out here, because it's too much friction.
Yep. Okay, so that's a sort of novelty whip that will never deteriorate, and I find it very handy actually.
Yeah,
it's easy to crack.
It's what I call get by whip, you know. Yeah. Well, you got to speak as you know. Yep. Yeah.
Well, good on the get by whips. Now let's have a look at another one.
Now this whip, it's got me tricked a bit, because it's a kind of a green-eyed, but it's somebody that been mucking around with leather. I think they've been mucking around with good leather, and that's wrong there, that colour. I don't know what it is, but anyway, it's all right, and it'll last for a long time. But it didn't tail out properly. Whoever made it.
What do you mean tail out properly? Get thin.
Like a rat. It's got like a whip has to be. It's very good here. It's nice and thin up here. But it should be thick out to about there. But you see, they've got a thick from there right back here.
Yeah, it's a bit of a shonky shape.
It's a shonky shape. And then down here, after it gets fat there, it has to tail out right through to the bottom. Well, that's not at the bottom. I might have a look at this leather now. No, that's not green-eyed, I don't think. That's I don't know what it is.
Well, it's a bit shonky.
I think it's red-eyed, that's what it is. Red-eyed, yeah. And that's the cheapest leather you can possibly put in a whip, I say. Because red-eyed, you can't thin it. You see, those strands are very thick. If that was good leather, you could bring them thicker, thinner than that. The shape of the whip, it should start off thin here and get thick out about that far, around about 18 inches. And then from wherever it stops getting thick, it must tail out. And if you had a knot there or a little bit of a thick patch, it would stop the coil of the whip and it wouldn't crack properly.
Yeah, dig it.
You've got to thin right out to as thin as you can get. And that makes a good whip.
Well, it's a pretty clumsy looking whip, isn't it? Let's have a look at the bull whip.
Yeah,
and now, why is it called a bull whip?
Well, that I don't know, because
my neighbour drover calls that a bull whip.
Yes, well, it is a bull whip. This is it. A bull whip is handle and whip all in one. So you can't buy a piece like the handle separate, because the plaiting starts in the handle. So you'd break the plaiting to join it. So if anything happens, which it does happen there, because that's where it all works from there, and that will wear out. But most bull whips they use them for. Well, I don't really know what they use them for in America, because they don't use whips at all for cattle. They use lariats, you know, but somehow or another, when they started making whips, they never knew anything about stock whips. So, and Australia is the home of stock whips. They were the first ones to really make stock whips. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Well, that one's
a bull whip, their life, if they were working hard, their lifespan wouldn't be very good. No, because you've got to throw them away. Yeah.
well, that one I bought back from Afghanistan. Looks a nice thing. Is it a good whip?
Hey, this one?
Yeah.
No, it's not a good whip. Right?
Well, that might explain why I can't get a noise out of it.
Well, that's right. It's all wrong. That's what it is. Yeah, but see what I was telling you about that big knob there. Now, that would go round and round, and then one of these strands would break. See? But I'll show you that later on.
That was a repair job.
Whoever did that didn't get these things right. You see, because they're doubled over. And they're going. See, if you compare it with here, this whip here. See the neatness there?
Yes.
Well, that's where they should be, see? But this one, look, see, there's a difference. He's out of it. Now, this is what I call a very perfectly made stock whip. But they made stock whips just a bit too long. I reckon this would be 7 feet. It'd be a much better whip if it was 6'6" or 6 foot. But it's been plaited beautiful. And I don't know how many strands, but I would think it could be 24 strands. I don't know.
Makes me think of a snake when I look at it.
Yes, well, that's right. But it's a very well-made whip. See, them strands, when you look, they're very fine. And there's so many of them. There's 1, 2, 3. I can't see just what sort of plait it is. But there's so many different plaits. There's no end to different plaits. You can change your plait. They can plait a name in a whip like this.
Yeah?
I got one made for a friend of mine from New South Wales. I said I wanted him to put Don in it. So he wrote D-O-N on, I didn't write it, but he plaited it in the colour.
How good's that?
Yeah, they're good. They're really good, a proper whip maker, but I'm not in that street at all. I can't make whips as good as this, no. But I don't really like making these because you can't sell them when you make them. They're too dear.
Ah.
See, this whip would be worth perhaps, when it was made, $600, $700.
Wow, that's my dad's whip. How about that?
Yeah. See, the old fellas, they didn't matter if they took a fortnight to make the whip, but they made them good. Yeah. What they do, this is thick up here, and when they come down here to make it thinner, they might drop 2 strands. They might drop another 2 down here, and so on, and you notice how it dies down to nothing? See, I keep on dropping strands, and these down here might only be, that could finish up only 4 strands. But you don't see anywhere where they dropped them, because it's a whip that's been well made. I don't know what's in the middle. I can't. Bloody nose is itching. I don't know what's in there for a belly, but it's a. I got to crack it. Itching. That's better. Yeah. Yes, it's a very good whip, but I would have to take that cracker off it. You make a pig's curl underneath like that. Now there's the first part of the pig's curl. Up through the hole, and that goes over the top. And yes, you got the perfect cracker. Underneath, the end goes underneath, not on top. See, that's on top. But if you go underneath, righto, then the cracker comes up through that hole and loops over, and then it locks up like that is. But that'll never come, it might, for a day or two that mightn't set, but if you keep pulling them tight, and then you can go all the time without them flying off. And they don't, this way, they don't cut that off. If you put the whip like that and put a cracker over the top and then do it, it'll cut the strand off. So there's a proper way and a wrong way.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. Well, and you did make it look easy, and I tell you what, it's really easy for me to forget how to do it.
Yeah, well, you should do them a few times when you're taught and get used to it. But if you go under with the first, with the end, and then come up through the bottom, loop it over the hole in top and pull it, and it'll lock itself up.
That's something I could practice in front of the fire on a winter's evening.
You could, yeah, and you practice making them like that too, because this is, I twist these by hand. See, all I do is like this.
And you reckon a bit of hay band is a good cracker on the end?
Oh, very good. Now, you don't know what I'm doing, but I can do it now. You see, that's all right, see?
Yes.
That's all, it won't come undone. Well, it come undone because it's short, but that's how that's made.
And then you put the knot at the end?
You put the knot in the middle, and then you have this so that it loops over the whip, see, this in.
Yeah, nice.
Got it, yeah.
So this is what you call fine-tuning a whip, hey? A cracker.
That cracking hasn't frayed the cracker, see? It will do later, but you see, that hasn't knocked it about.
And why is that better? Because you've got that knot in the middle?
Oh, you got to have the knot there, yeah. But you mustn't have too long out here. That would crack better if it was shorter. Because when you're doing a competition, you have short pieces there, and the cracks come better.
Okay, well, there's a definite art to all this, isn't there?
Oh, well, there is, yes.
I thought a cracker's just a bit of a cracker.
Cracking is a big business, I tell you. Yeah.
Whip, crack away, whip, crack away, whip, crack away.
Yeah. Now, this sort of thing is a no-no. You know, that's got dry.
Yes, I can see that.
Yeah, and that's what wears out. Yeah. That's a no-no if you don't keep it greased, because you see all 100 little cracks coming, and one of them will let go and break it in half. That's why it's so short now, because that fall was that much longer when it was put on. Yeah. You must throw your whip away like if you don't own it, but get back past your ear and then drop it, and it'll crack itself. And it won't hit you, it won't hit anything. And another thing, if there's somebody behind you, still won't hit them. You see kids cracking whips around the head, very dangerous, because they don't look back to see who's behind, and they could hit them straight in the face. Because I've been hit. Oh. Yeah. You know, they just pick up a whip, boom, around, and they don't even look. But if you pick up a whip and do it like this, it comes down out in front and it doesn't hurt.
Okay, I'll get out of the way and you give us a good slow motion look at how you throw it away.
Yeah, yeah. I'll go up slow. You tell me when you're ready.
Okay.
Up to there and then straight back. See,
up to there and straight back.
And then straight back. See, if you go up like that, that's no good because the whip's falling all over the place. See what I mean when I say going like that? But when I say throw it away, shush. See?
Yep, throw it away.
But you must shush. And it's easy. You don't have to push it, you just drop. It just comes in itself because you've got it all in perspective. If it goes up straight, it'll come down proper. But if it goes up crooked, it'll come down crooked, and it won't do it. You've got to have the whip rolling all the way. It's got to come in perspective. The roll must come, and then when it comes to the end, it breaks a sound barrier. That's what makes a whip crack, the sound barrier. You break the barrier, see?
Fantastic.
But it doesn't break the barrier if you haven't got it rolling right. Because if you just stand and wait there, look, see that? See? Now, that was so quick at the end, see? I won't hit you there. But that's the art of whip cracking. It must, that's what I say, this is a good whip because it rolls out. It just keeps rolling all the way through.
Now there's been a book written about you.
Yes. I wanted a story written for the kid. I've had a pretty lively sort of a lifestyle, you know. I had 5.5 years on boats.
What sort of boats?
Big boats, taking cattle and horses away overseas. And, I've taken, 80 horses, 100 horses at a time on boats and looked after them.
Oh, brumbies. You handled brumbies, didn't you?
Brumbies, yeah. I've had brumbies. I've broken in brumbies. I've broken in mules, and I've done a lot.
And you've got a very special way with horses, I hear.
Ah, well, yeah, they say I have. I don't know. But, see, I've had trick horses all my life. I've had horses doing things that you don't believe. I taught one horse. It took me 2 years, but I taught one horse to read numbers.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, and it took me 2 years to do it. I could put in 6 jumps in a row in a circle, and I started off on the number 1. I'd say, Miss number 1, Silver, and then I'd pull him in with a rope. And this went on until I didn't need a rope. I'd say, Miss number 1, he'd come around, he'd miss number 1 and come to me. I thought, that's got that. So I had to do that to each one of the 6 numbers. So one day I used to put on shows, and every Sunday morning, and I said to the horse, I said, Miss number 3, Silver, and he missed number 3, and there was a woman in the crowd, a bit of a know-all. Oh, she said, you do that every day, number 3. Oh, well, I said, you call a number. She said, number 5. I said, righto, Silver. I said, Miss number 5. And he went around, he missed number 5. Silver, horse got a clap and I got a clap, but the woman didn't. So, you know, but that was the biggest thing I've ever done. But I worked hard, and I kept going till I got it. He was so perfect at it. He never, ever let me down. But he was a stallion.
Fantastic. A horse is a very special animal, isn't it?
So was a dog. I studied 3 things in my life: horses, dogs and people. And people are the hardest. Yeah, they are. They, you know, because they argue with you, they disagree with you. A dog will do as he's told once you teach him, and a horse will do as he's told.
And a person won't.
And a person sometimes won't. No. Yeah, see. But yeah, you get a lot of pleasure out of working with horses. Yeah. You can get into the horse's brain a fair bit. People don't know, don't believe this. The old fellas, they don't believe it. But there's a man called Guy McLean. He knows, I think, what a horse thinks all the time. And I've been working with him a couple of times, 3 times, and oh boy, I learned something from him.
What's your favourite sort of horse?
I don't like Arabs. Purebred Arabs or crossbred Arabs and mongrels, I reckon. But when I train a trick horse, I like a little colt. Because he's cheeky, he listens, and he has a go at you. And when they have a go at you, you can discipline him. But when you discipline him, it's always there. It's always in his mind.
What, you don't flog the living day?
Oh, you never. That's people. See, I work with whips all the time. I'll show you the thing. I'm still on gear there. I've got a long handle whip, about that long, but it's all cracking. It's all noise. You know, you see people in the circus with a line. He don't flog the line with the whip, does he?
No.
He cracks it. It's letting him know that you're superior to him.
Well, that's right. You never touch an animal with the whip, do you?
That's right. See, I catch a young horse in the yard. I'll run around and I'll crack the whip behind him. But when I crack it behind him, it don't touch his leg until after it cracks. I just drag it towards his foot, and it just comes across like that. And everyone says, "Oh, look at that fella hitting the horse," but they don't understand what I'm doing. See, so you have to explain it to them. See, I had 5.5 years on boats, different boats. I went to India, I went to Rangoon, I went to Malaya, I went up in the islands of New Guinea.
What was this for horses in wartime?
No, after the war, 1947 I started. And then I got married, and then I was a boss on that place. I left it and come up here. I've been here 50-odd years.
Well, who wanted the horses?
Well, they was all... The first trip I had, oh, God, I'll never forget it. They went for Rajas and Princes. Yeah, I was mixing with the top. Geez, I was uneducated. It was a night eye-opener for me, but... Next trip I went to Singapore with 84 draft horses, and they went for snake bite serum. You know, they bleed the horses for snake bite serum. Yeah, I went everywhere with them. I went to Japan, I went to Hong Kong a few times, and went to Shanghai. Race horses went to Hong Kong. Oh, some people would want a special cow or special 2 cows, and I'd take them, you know, we might go to Shanghai or somewhere. Sometimes I went to places that I took nothing because I was on the roundabout trip with, you know, on the ship.
And have you ever fallen off a horse, or were you always stuck like glue?
No, I've had me falls. Yeah. No one's perfect. Yeah, I've had a few falls, but not many. I had a lot when I was a kid. I've had 2 bad falls on little ponies. I had one that I used to play leapfrog with him up and down this drive. And he was only a little horse. I'd run in front and he'd come along behind me, put his 2 feet on my hips, and then he'd get down and I'd put my hands on his hips, and we'd take it pounding up and down the drive. And he was sold to a RSPCA man, yeah. But that pony, I had a 44 there and a 44 here and a big plank, and only that wide. He'd jump up on the 44 and he'd walk to the centre, I'd say turn around and walk back. And he'd put all his feet together like that, and he could turn on that little wee narrow rail and walk back to the other end.
No worries. Well, that's good. But I'll tell you what, I've got a couple of dogs, little Jack Russell, Foxy, cross-type dogs, and I'll tell you what, they won't even sit for me and they won't even come.
Won't they? Oh, I just had a dog, for a city dog, or what I call it, a city bunyip dog, out-of-control dog, but people won't touch their dog. I mean, you've got to give them a little smack if they do something wrong. But, oh, no, you can't do that, you know. Well, they'll never have anything to do with it. What the dog was doing, when they started the lawnmower, he jumped up and bite him in the back of the neck. And I said, you've got to hit him for it. I said, he's got to learn not to do it. Anyway, oh, you can't do that. I said, well, bloody let him bite you. Because that's what happens, you know. See, discipline. If you're teaching horse tricks, you've got to use the same word for the same thing. You must not change it. If you change your words, he doesn't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, dig it.
Yeah.
All right, well, thank you very much.
See? And this way, see? See, the difference is flows. But you must keep a whip flowing. Swish it out like that. See how that goes out in front?
Mm-hmm.
No bends in it. But if it goes out like that, nothing happens because it falls.
Okay.
But if it goes out like that, it don't fall, only when you make it. Now, what you've got to do is go throw it out, up to there, not to there. It's got to come back to your ear, and then straight down.
Better get out of the way.
Yes, you'll be right. Now, no, you went up cranky again. Yeah, right on the end. Now, see that? Now that went up pretty straight. Up and drop. Ooh, and drop.
Up,
no, don't come in too quick.
Ah.
Come up and come in when you're up there. Try that again. That's it. Good. Past your ear. More, up high and straight out. That's it. Good. Got him. Got her. Yeah. See what I mean by going over? Hey? That's
Beautiful.
Good. That's really good.